What's up, man? It's Cool Water. The Digital Dope Man with another podcast in the Ballroom Chats podcast where we discuss topics in the area of entertainment, politics, education, business, and culture. It's the Ballroom Chats podcast. You can find us on Spreaker, SPREAKER.com under Ballroom Chats podcast. Tonight, I want to dive in. I meant to do this particular subject matter a few days ago, really about a week now, and talk about this particular subject that, I wanted to get to. So, the subject that came on the television program documentary that came on was about Richard Pryor. They did a 2020 special on Richard Pryor. And, he never really had the whole backstory on Richard. Richard, as we know, is one of the greatest comedians to ever walk the face of the planet. And he kind of died, kind of like Muhammad Ali. He died really from health issues. I think he got multiple sclerosis. So he kind of withered away, which it was a problem. So 2020 did the documentary on Richard Pryor, and I'm sitting there taking it all in, and I was taken aback a little bit by the fact that Richard Pryor's lifestyle, his upbringing, is really what shaped the man. So, Richard Pryor, born in the 40s, and he comes from a line of prostitutes and pimps. His daddy, I think it's Richard Bucky Pryor the second, was a pimp. His mother, I believe, was a prostitute. His grandmother was a madam that ran 3 hoe houses, according to Richard in the story. So when you see this and you hear this, you like, damn, you know what I'm saying? That as a child, that's got to be tough. Now many of us come from some dysfunction in the black community. And I'm saying me in the boat, growing up, moving from house to house to house, and, my mother not having the money to really pay the bills. My father was gone and he was in the wind. I got 3 other brothers behind me. They daddy is not really around. I mean, it's typical. So to hear Richard Pryor speak what he spoke kind of blew my mind. I was just like, damn, here go another brother, man, that had to go through the tunnel, had to go through the fire. You know what I'm saying? In order to get his just due. But at the end of the day, his just due was really him seeking out love, because he had been so mentally damaged that it was inevitable that he would self-destruct, because he never got to repair the damage. So 2020, they did a pretty decent job. Richard Pryor, who was born in the 40s, definitely came up during an era when racism was prominent, dominant, and the stronghold of American society. So, as he put it, he kind of really had to find his voice amongst many other comics and things of that nature that actually separated him from the masses. What really got me on this podcast is the continued dislike and underlining hate that America gives to black comics, even though black comedy is paramount in society as a whole, because it's just the fabric of the culture. So this podcast is basically titled Richard Pryor, Black Comedians and the Hate You Give. Now, where I'm trying to really go with this thing is you have to fast forward 2019. Dave Chappelle does Netflix documentary, Netflix special by Dave Chappelle is probably one of the most prolific and most unaccepted but accepted comedian specials in history, along with Eddie Murphy's Delirious, right? Along with the Kings of Comedy with Bernie Mac, Cedric the Entertainer, Steve Harvey, and damn, I can't forget. I forgot old boy's name. It'll come to me. These black men basically took on America, but Richard Pryor's situation was somewhat uniquely different because he was coming up in a time when you were supposed to stay in your place and behave. So he challenged the status quo. Now, fast forward again to Dave Chappelle. They took away that voice, that ability to challenge the status quo, which is why you have the crybaby generation that you have today. The Me Too movement is the Black Lives Matter movement, the LGBTQ movement, all these different movements and organizations have a degree of sympathetic nature embedded in them for the mere fact of everybody wants to be heard and seen. Because Richard Pryor was able to stand his ground and go head up with America, he became one of the most iconic comedians in the world. But at the same time, he also walked a thin line and probably experienced a lot of hate. And then at the same time, his background, his upbringing, his quality of life was his dysfunction, because he turned to cocaine. He in and out of 3 and 4 marriages. You know, I think he got married 4 or 5 times. He was a dysfunctional, walking, civilized, uncivilized human being. And he even did the drugs so good, he burned himself, set himself on fire, and messed around and did not die. Had 3rd-degree burns and recovered at some point, you know, to get back on stage. But looking at his life and looking at many of us who come from the culture that we call Black America, African American, whatever you want to call it, we all have the same, or if not similar, stories, which makes us and builds us to who we are. But the minute you go out and you begin to take on America, you begin to catch hell. which leads to you falling in with the dysfunction of really white society, who likes you for the entertainment, because that's what we were allowed to do in the slave era: entertain, play the music, dance, sing, tell jokes, and act buffoonery, act a fool. But the minute you put the intellectual, political commentary, now this nigga's getting bigger than his britches. And that's what some of what Richard Pryor did, i.e., slide over to Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle did his show on Netflix and hit him with so much politically correct statements that he became a target for LGBT, for the Me Too movement, for the gays, for Black Lives Matter. He became the target. He became the modern day Richard Pryor. So the hate you give is me really saying the hate America gives black comedians, black men, because we're not supposed to be able to be intellectually astute and articulate enough to be able to be comical, yet serious, yet intellectual, and yet political, all in the same sense. If you cooning and you buffooning, then that's where you need to stay. But that's not where these men stay. Eddie Murphy was a classic example. He had a lot of social commentary jokes, man, that today won't even fly. And he did the SNL Saturday Night Live special and talked about gentrification. And because he talked about gentrification, he really opened up the eyes of some people who really probably didn't look at it from the perspective that they looked at it from. And then he also said he had some jokes that made you feel uncomfortable, but they was funny. But now the voice is being silenced. Like one of the guys on the Richard Pryor special said, you can't even say that type of stuff today. They won't allow you to get on TV and push the envelope because they're minimizing the voice. They're desensitizing your ability to fight back. Your freedom of speech is getting thinner and thinner. You can't say something on Facebook without it being flagged, or is it real news? You can't put up a video on YouTube without YouTube flagging the video. You can't get on Twitter and say, certain things because now they flagging. They just put the Minister Farrakhan on suspension on Twitter. Dude been spitting the same juice for over 60 years. But now it's penetrating. It's becoming potent. It's becoming acceptable for young black individuals to be able to see both sides of the fence. But the powers that be, the corporate infrastructure, they don't like it. They don't want you saying that, oh, you're saying something against Jews. Oh, you're saying something against Muslims. Oh, you're saying something against Europeans or whoever. And that ain't the case. Don't want to really dive into the conversation. Richard Pryor pushed the envelope. But what really had me going was his upbringing. His grandmother was a madam. She ran 3 whole houses. 3. Because why? Most of black America in the 40s, 30s, 20s, 50s had very little opportunities and wasn't no jobs. You was either cleaning somebody's kitchen or raising somebody's children, or you was cooking. Or you was out in the field, and a lot of that sharecropping. You see what I'm saying? So apparently she being an entrepreneur, which they wouldn't give her that credit, found a way, I'm going to make me some money. And even though it's illegal, I'm going to make me some money by any means necessary. So his mama was a prostitute, and according to what he said, his mama, she didn't really want to live that life, so she abandoned him and got the hell on. His daddy was a pimp, Bucky. You know, Richard Pryor II was a pimp. You know, and they getting it how they live. They living how they get it. You feel me? And all of that being a child is embedded in him subconsciously, because the mental dysfunction is what he carried with him for the rest of his life, because he was doing what? Seeking out love, trying to find love. So he run to the white girls, trying to find love. Get married to a sister, trying to find love. You feel what I'm saying? Doing drugs, trying to find love. The only place he could probably really be sane is in his zone when he was on stage doing comedy. Where he didn't need the drug, even though he might have been high out there doing the comedy. I think a lot of times they said he was high. Doing these movies, he was high. Looking for the love. You see what I'm saying? So because of the condition that black folks have been in, still in, will continue to be in, we grow up looking for the love. I ain't no different. I mean, I went through my problems with my mother. You know what I'm saying? We have our differences. I'm out seeking the love because I didn't feel like I was getting it from her at times. And even now, we don't connect as good as we should. You know, I had to do a lot of self-repair by myself. You see what I'm saying? So the hate you give is really the hate America gives black men who are merely, in some kind of ways, growing up in a dysfunctional household because we not being loved to be the men that we want to be. So like Richard said, he had to have an imaginary friend to help him get through that trauma of his mama slipping in the back room, giving oral sex to some white dude, and then coming out and kissing him goodnight. You carrying that pain, man. You carrying that pain. You understand what I'm saying? You know, Eddie Murphy, he pushed the envelope. And you know, was regarded as one of the greatest comics ever. Now, he can't push the envelope because the voice is being minimized, because they're saying, we can't have that type of vulgarity or that type of political innuendos in comedy. Dave Chappelle pushed the envelope. He called hell. They pigs. We can't control Dave. You see what I'm saying? Kevin Hart, tired of playing the game. You know, he speak his mind. He want to do the Oscars. Oh, they tripping because he said some stuff way back about some homophobic comments. Oh, you can't say that. What? See what I'm saying? It's a double-edged sword, man. And a lot of us as men come from dysfunctional families and dysfunctional homes. And as a result, you know what I mean? We tend to find ways to fix our problems and really try to fix our problems in ways that many of you may not understand. So he rapping on the record. He going off. He cussing at everybody. He trying to solve the problem. That's his therapy. That's his behavior. That's his mechanism of coping. Some people smoke. Some people do dope. You understand? Playing football. You know, he trying to get every touchdown he can get because that's his only way of coping. You understand? So, Richard Pryor, Dave Chappelle, Eddie Murphy, Bernie Mac, he came from some rough beginnings. Steve Harvey, I think Cedric the Entertainer had, he had some trials and triumphs. All of this because it's a mechanism in place that has all of us as men jacked up. Jacked up. Looking for solutions and ways to solve the problem. Coming from a single parent home where the father ain't in there and you a young male, you trying to figure out what move to make. It's treacherous out here, man. And I think Richard Pryor did it the best way he could. And comedy was his thing. The only problem was he couldn't separate how to solve the problem through the comedy to fix his own past transgressions. So he turned to the dope. And then there was no good support group around him. The white girl snorted coke right with him. The black woman, I don't know where she went off to, but apparently they got married twice, and then she said, hell with this, I'm gone. But he got all these people around him who only really love him for the talent. And then he grew up with people who really only didn't really show any love. And boom, dysfunctional. And this is what's going on out here. It's continuous dysfunctional for a lot of folks. So I didn't really want to be too long. You know, again, I just found that to be very interesting that, Richard Pryor had a very, 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 very crazy upbringing, in which case it left him damaged. And he used that as a mechanism to catapult himself into being one of the greatest comics in the world. You know what I'm saying? But in the same sentence, he also never got fixed. You know, but in the same sentence, America, who has these parameters set up to keep you in this box, keep you unemployed, uneducated, keep you sexually engaged, keep you mentally disturbed, keep you liquored up, looking for the drug, looking for vice, has put many of people in the grave, in the ground. You feel what I'm saying? So when black men go to bucking, because we trying to fix it, because we trying to do whatever we got to do to fix it, then we get castrated. We get put in a box. We get called names. We get called being too big for our britches, if you will. So I'm gonna get off, man. Like I said, I just wanted to say something on that. You know, I probably could, go in a little deeper, but, you know what I'm saying? I just really wanted to touch it. I think Richard Pryor then and Richard Pryor now, it would definitely be a huge problem. Richard Pryor would not be able to get off the type of comedy. He would be put in a more deeper controlled box now than he was back then. Even he said it when he was being interviewed by Barbara Walters. I'm tired of motherfuckers telling me what to do. I'm tired of people, what I can say and what I can't say, because you're being controlled by the hate you give. White society only wants to see you in a certain light. They love Bill Cosby because Bill Cosby was never really too controversial. You see, they tried to constrict Dave Chappelle. He turned down the money. He wasn't easily bought off. You see, Bernie Mac, all them guys, we ain't doing this for the money. They made considerable amount of money, but they wasn't doing it for the money. You see, so no matter how you feel, it's going to be a problem in expressing yourself, whether you're a comedian or not, because America ain't interested in thought-provoking, intellectually astute, politically correct black men who can challenge the status quo. So I'm going to just leave y'all with that, man. You think about that, man. It's Cool Water Digital Dope, man. I'm about to get off of here. Look for me at the blog Is Hip Hop Dead. Look for me at the digitaldopeman.com. Please take a moment, share, like, subscribe, to any place that you find me so we can continue to build. Peace and stay blessed. Holla.